TechBusters, proudly brought to you by Ericsson.
Good evening and welcome to TechBusters. It's another week that's going to be filled with tech mayhem, all the exciting world from the world of technology. We've got some great reviews for you this week, and some of your tweets as well, and all the exciting stories happening in the world of technology. How are you, Mr. Shapshak? Anything earth-shattering happen in your life in the last week?
No. Just, the arms deal was clearly no problem whatsoever. Let's take a look at what's coming up on the show tonight.
Tonight on TechBusters, we take a look at Deloitte's TMT predictions for 2016 and chat to Mark Casey. And Aki heads off to one of the coolest HQs in Africa, Google, to find out what the local arm of the global corporation is up to. All this tonight on TechBusters.
Really, Facebook is one of the most interesting companies in terms of where they are strategically based in the world of technology and how we all communicate with each other. But for me, their chatbots are quite interesting because what Facebook is suggesting is that they could replace the 0800 numbers, and when you go to a call center, you'll have these virtual assistants. It's really interesting to see where it's evolving because now they're putting artificial intelligence into some kind of a chat device.
It's a very interesting, sudden technological development. All of a sudden, chatbots are the next big new thing. I don't know quite how to define it for people. I suppose in a way it's the evolution of search. It's a more intelligent search. I mean, you wouldn't want to chat to a robot, would you? Although I do that every week. But you. But
nice friend I've got, eh?
But it is an efficient way to get information, and there is this AI that's going to be involved in it, isn't it?
Well, I mean, for the viewers that are watching this right now and they're saying, what on earth are these guys talking about chatbots? Let me give you a classic example. So you open up your messenger box in Facebook, right? And instead of talking to a friend, you want to interact with a brand, for example. Now, the brand will already know that you've been going to gym. They will know what kind of clothes you wear. That they'll know that you love Adidas or Nike, for example. And then you can interact with the brand directly. So Nike will say, hey, what training are you doing at gym? Oh, you're doing CrossFit or you're doing running. Well, how about these shoes if you're specifically looking for these kind of shoes? So you almost start talking to a chatbot that is discussing with you aspects of their brand and giving you suggestions on what you want to do. And then you say, okay, I want to buy this. And they say yes. The one interesting part is with travel. When you book travel arrangements, for example, they say, well, KLM says that they'll send you the ticket documentation on your Facebook Messenger profile, and you can interact with a chatbot to change your seat instead of logging online and doing that sort of thing.
I mean, that would be very useful.
That was the one thing that they announced. The other thing was the drones that are able to fly and give live video footage in high definition quality, which is astonishing.
Yeah, it really is interesting. And what I find fascinating is they are pushing the envelope in a way that we didn't expect them to do this. Like a year ago, it seemed they were very happy to tweak the algorithm of the news feed a little bit and keep us there. And yet all of a sudden, Facebook seems to be at the cutting edge of a whole bunch of new technologies. They're more than just the internet's intranet. They're doing some groundbreaking things.
And another cool feature, if you want to try this out with your friends on Facebook, they've got this live video feature, right? So you can set up this live crossing that you want to do because it changes broadcasting as well. That you can actually schedule this broadcast. So you hold the camera up, or you can use the front or the back of the camera. It'll send a notification to all your friends on Facebook that's saying that, hey, Aki or Toby are about to go live. And you can start doing a live crossing from wherever you are in the world, and your friends can watch and you can start interacting with the messages. And this is a company that when they first launched on the stock exchange and their share price came in around $30, just under or just over around that mark, and you look at where Facebook's share price and value is today, it's like seriously, wow, I never imagined that their value would go so much. I wish I'd bought shares. I recently got the opportunity to visit Google's new HQ in Johannesburg for a look at their impressive offices. And I've been to Googleplex in California, and this is a miniature version. I found the local South African office to be cozier and a lot more fun because they've South Africanized it, as you will see shortly. And I got to chat to the South Africa country director, director, Luke McKent, about the company, Google in South Africa, where they're going, what's it looking like on the African continent. And I left that interview feeling so optimistic and positive because I really get the sense that digital connectiveness is really coming to this continent in such a fast way. Take a look at this. Tell us about the inspiration of the offices and the design and what went behind it.
Yeah, what we wanted to try and do is bring some of the Google sort of magic to South Africa, but at the same time make sure that it wasn't just Google, that this was actually a really South African office. So the design company worked with us to look at a specifically Joburg inspiration, in fact. So how do we take the best of Joburg and make our offices look and feel like a place that we really want to work in, and that inspires our customers and our clients? What we've actually discovered by building an office that looks and feels like this is that people want to come and see us. You know, in the past you might have wanted to go and visit a customer, or you'd have to spend a lot of time out of the office. We spend a lot more time here now because it's just such a fantastic place to be.
But I think the most exciting announcement that I've heard this month has been about the 1 million jobs, or the 1 million digital positions, or that 1 million people that you want to empower digitally on the African continent. It's so exciting when you look at this continent and how quickly you're moving into that digital space. You're going to do this in a year. This is exciting. Tell us about this project.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a hugely ambitious project. The idea is to take 1 million young people in sub-Saharan Africa and empower them with some form of digital skills. Now, of course, it's an enormous number. It's highly unlikely we can do it all by ourselves, so we're doing this in partnership with a few other organizations. Some of this will be done face-to-face, but as you can imagine, with 1 million people, the best way to reach those people is probably using the internet, which we're actually quite good at. So we've created a portal that will enable hundreds of thousands of people to go through a learning experience at their own pace, maybe consume a video. They're relatively short chunks of information. They can test themselves once they've done each little bit, give themselves a little bit of a quiz to figure out what they've learnt. Once they've done all of the modules, they'll have gone through the Digify program, which we hope will not only give them knowledge, but inspire them to learn more about what's possible in digital, and potentially give them the skills to promote their small business, to actually manage their own digital footprint. You can imagine these days, every time you're on social media, you create a new piece of content. We actually leave an enormous footprint behind us, and managing that footprint is a really key skill, especially if you imagine that an employer might want to have a look at you just before the interview. And you want to make sure that that digital footprint puts your best foot forward. And I think that's really important. So giving people the skills to manage their own digital footprint, potentially promote a small business, and perhaps inspire them to see what's possible with digital. That's what it's all about. 1 million people, 12 months, big task, but really exciting.
So now we're getting really intimate. This is another interesting part of your office. Where are we? You call this the nest, Luke?
We do. It looks a little bit like a nest. I think the idea was just to sort of break the straight lines of the rest of the office and create something that visually kind of gives your eyes something to rest on that is a little bit different.
But I'm glad you mentioned small businesses just now, because that was one of your other ambitious projects that you guys did by setting up small websites for small businesses, getting them online. So you've had quite a bit of success with that particular project. I know it started off as one of your pet projects because it's really grown enormously, and I'm seeing tons and tons of small businesses launching their websites, and it's great to see these entrepreneurs coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, small businesses are super important. We know that small businesses that have websites are more profitable than those that don't. We also know they employ more people. So you can imagine that the more people or the more small businesses that have some form of digital presence means that they're likely to make more money. They're likely to employ more people, and as a result, be a real driver for economic growth. So the more we can do to give small businesses a digital presence, I think, the current doldrums that we may be finding ourselves in, but that's one of the solutions, really. If you think by 2020, 500 million, 500 million people connected to the internet using some form of smartphone. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's more than there will be smartphones in Europe. We have a bigger population, bigger potential internet population in Africa than we do in Europe by 2020. That represents enormous potential. We've also got the population dividend. In other words, enormous numbers of young people are entering the workforce with huge energy and huge ambition. Very, very different to Europe, where you've got an aging population. So with those two things on our side, we actually have the potential, if we can connect those people to the internet, give them the right skills through the programs that we've just launched, well, we've really got enormous growth potential.
So we're on the other side of the building. I mean, this is the canteen. I can smell fresh popcorn. There's lots of stuff. You've had a few launches here as well. This is pretty cool, eh, Luke?
Yeah, no, we love this space. It was really designed to give people a space, as you can see, to actually sit down, eat together, and sort of foster that sense of camaraderie and team that really helps us, I suppose, work together just much more effectively. But it's also a great space to have fun. I mean, you've got a popcorn machine just around the road there. You've got all of these things on the ceiling.
I was watching all of these messages. They're so cool. If we can get the camera just to pan up on the screen, I see it says here, did you know that Afrikaans is the longest official language in the world? The youngest official language. Did you know that South Africa was the first country in Africa to host the FIFA Soccer World Cup? These are cool facts.
Chappies type facts, Do you remember those Chappies Rappers facts? Whether in fact we can attest to the veracity of exactly every single one of these facts, I'm not so sure. But it's just a nice, cool spot. And we use this a lot to, as a team, but also just to sit down and, have that sort of informal interaction with customers.
Where do you see it all going, Luke? I mean, this technology is moving around us so fast. I just see the other day, you've now announced that the traffic alerts that pop up on the Google Maps. I mean, you look at the technology and how easy it's made everybody's life. Where is it all going?
I got really excited the other day. I don't know if you used the feature Google Now on Tap. It's a fantastic feature. So on any screen, using the latest version of Android, I have to say, on any screen that you're on your phone, hold down the home button and you'll get additional information about what's actually on that home button. So let's say, for instance, you're having a conversation with somebody on social media and they say to you, hey, I want to go and see a film tonight, let's go and watch Deadpool. Perhaps that's not somebody's cup of tea and they recommend a restaurant instead. I hold down the home button, it brings up the review of Deadpool without me having to ask for it. It also brings up restaurant recommendations in the vicinity of where I'm actually standing at that point in time. Now, those are all sorts of things where, in the past, what would you have done? Somebody would have said that to you, you would have had to search for that. You would have actively had to go and find out information about restaurants. Now you're getting that information at the touch of a button before you've even asked the question. And I think, you think about the potential for that in all sorts of businesses. If I was a broker, for instance, in insurance at the moment, and all I had was a few products to recommend to somebody, I'd start to be a little bit concerned about the technology that might make recommendations that are more intelligent than I am.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah, digital's not somewhere we go anymore. It's what we do every day.
Deloitte have just released their predictions for 2016-2017, and they're always interesting, and there are always a few shockers on that list because technology changes so quickly around us. In 2016, something to the effect of 2.5 trillion photos are expected to be shared or stored online. 1 trillion of those photos are coming just from Toby Shapchak. No, I'm joking, but really that's a lot of photographs. So already a 15% increase on 2015. Now, over 90% of these photos will likely have been taken over some kind of a smartphone, a digital SLR, compact cameras, tablets, laptops, and they're estimated to collectively contribute the remaining 10% of those photographs. So really the majority coming from smartphones. Now, this estimate doesn't even include the trillions of photos that remain on various devices, like Toby's, for example. He's got a 128 gig smartphone, of which 70% of that, like 70 gigs of that, is just photographs. True story. But take a look at this.
This event's important for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, it gives South Africans a chance to see, what are some of the things around the corner in the technology, media and telecommunication space, but views that are slightly contrarian to the norm and that just challenge some of the thinking about, digital and where it's going. So it's important to give people perspectives about what's going on around the world, and it also gives people a chance to share local views and see whether we're in harmony. Maybe we should be, maybe we shouldn't be, maybe there's good reasons for both. But that sort of debate, because that's what this is all about, is really the most important thing. There's a lot of companies, embarking on journeys with digital to try and gain bigger market share, more prominence, better brand image. But the translation of the monetization of that is really what it's all about. Many companies aren't there yet. And the businesses that are making money today and trying to digitalize and monetize for the future, they've got their own challenges too. There is no simple answer. It's experimentation, in fact, pretty much. Most people will admit behind closed doors, but it's still very much on the agenda. And if you are experimenting, then you have to be ready to fail as well as succeed, and fail fast so you don't waste money and time. There's like a short fuse for some and there's a longer fuse for others. So in the retail game and in the financial services game, in the telecoms game, there's a very short fuse. So transformation is very important to achieve within short timescales. And others, energy and resources, yes, digital will become more a part of their agenda. It's not quite the same burning platform as it is in other sectors. We had a prediction specifically on books last year, and we believe the books will still retain an important place in our world, because it's not about the consumption of content in books, it's about what it says of you, your brand, your image, the sort of books you keep, the collections you keep at home. Even millennials are still actually buying books and keeping books. There's something about the tactile experience of paper, scent from magazines and so on. These are all part of the emotional experience of media consumption. That's why books will certainly remain. And as we said today, movies and going to the movie theatre and the experience of doing that is a very much an important part of our social world. It's very much the case still in the US, which is in many cases leading in terms of transformation, and we don't see it being different here. In fact, in other parts of the world, it's growing at a considerable pace. As we said, China will become in 2017 the largest box office country in the world, and for good reason, because of the social experience.
We're going through an age where disruption is happening all around us, and often we have this paradigm where you've got a very busy business to run. In most of the clients we work with, our industry has to worry about the current business operations while still having to have a foresight into what the future looks like. And if you do not build the business of tomorrow while taking care of your current business, you often get disrupted without being expected. So this is about looking forward, having a realistic perspective on what the next 12 to 24 months look like, both from a global and local perspective, and having that perspective in every conversation we have with our clients. So 2016, we've got predictions around faster speeds of internet. We're talking about gigabits internet services. Our prediction is that there will be a significant play in terms of a user base coming on to ultra-fast broadband. That's already happened, so it's already in progress. All of the predictions we're talking about are that's already shaping at the moment. It's impossible to be fully digitized. I mean, the human interaction and emotion of a connection is often needed. The scale of that will be significantly smaller. So most people prefer not to have to go to a bank's branch, but they might want to have a private banker or a manager sitting with in terms of interaction. And the same applies in terms of commerce. There's a massive amount of digital influence in doing the pre-research, but you might finally want to go and try on the clothes that you want to buy. So there's always be the physical touch points, but the scale of that will be disrupted. So you will not have a bank that is fully investing into retail banking. It'll be 90% digital, and the must-haves will have a physical channel.
This event is relevant because it's providing a glimpse to the future, understanding what are the things that are changing and mostly impacting our lives. Every year there is a number of new predictions and a number of new challenges, so there is a new angle how we can articulate the evolution of technology services and the opportunities we have to make the business far better and faster. And there is a way to show how we can serve the businesses, and this year was a unique opportunity to share the changes we have at the Hewlett Packard Enterprise after Hewlett Packard separation.
With me in studio is one of my favorite African entrepreneurs. Harry Hare is the person who has introduced Demo Africa to Africa, and it has been running for the last few years in Kenya and Nigeria, and it's coming to South Africa. Harry, thanks for making the schlep down here to the tip of the continent. It's a remarkable thing, Demo Africa, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about the history, first of Demo, and secondly of how it came to Africa.
So Demo Africa is part of a bigger group of events, which so we have an event in the US, which is Demo US, then another one in Russia, Demo Europe, Demo Brazil, and Demo China. And these events are meant to create a platform for tech entrepreneurs, tech startups, to actually find a platform where they can come and launch their products, launch their startups, launch their services in front of investors. They may be VCs or angel investors, so all sorts of investors, and also technology buyers. So it's an opportunity for every entrepreneur in the tech space to show up and show what you've got.
Indeed, and I mean some of the great success stories from Demo, the original Demo in the States, was Palm, the
Yeah.
original personal digital
Adobe.
assistant, Adobe.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a good launch pad for a whole bunch of big name technology firms, and it's becoming like that for African innovators, isn't it?
It is, and you know, we're beginning to see actually some of the startups who've launched a demo go out and do some really serious business. You know, case in point, you know, you'll have people like SpacePoint from Nigeria. It's an e-commerce company, but e-commerce, you know how e-commerce in Africa is. We don't have addressing, so SpacePoint had to work backwards, first create the logistics around e-commerce, then come up with the application for e-commerce. And these guys have gone to raise about $1.7 million, you know, in the past 1 year. And if you look at the kind of business they're doing now, they're doing some really good stuff. So we have those. We have others like Wezatele from Kenya, Traffic Bytes from Egypt, and the Go Metro here in South Africa.
And so there must be a different characteristics in all the places. I mean, you're from Kenya, you held it there for the first 2 years, then in Nigeria for the past 2 years, and now, you know, the center of the universe, Johannesburg.
Yeah, it is. Kenya is home, so very familiar with everything around me. Nigeria was completely different. You know, we're dealing with a different, completely different ecosystem, different players. So you have to adapt to that. You have to see what they're doing, adjust the program to that, to what they're doing. Then South Africa is a new experience as well. But what I've seen in the past few days and probably a few months is Cape Town and Johannesburg have a completely different startup ecosystem. Where Cape Town you have the nice looking wine sharing, photo sharing applications, and Johannesburg you have the big systems which are driving industry. So it's an interesting, it's like two different countries actually.
Yeah. But it is a pan-African event. I mean, the participants come from all over
Correct.
the continents, and that's what I've always loved. I've been to the 2 Kenyan events. It's a real melting pot, and there's a real camaraderie amongst the contestants.
Yes, and we also bring in quite a bit of investors from within Africa and also from outside Africa. And you know, our partnership with the African Business Angels Network and the European Business Angel Network and our networks in Silicon Valley. So Johannesburg will be a center of what is, you know, like all the investment community will be here during demo.
Indeed. Well, I can just say thank you very much for choosing Johannesburg and not Cape Town and keeping that good old rivalry going. Harry, just the best of luck, and we'll be seeing you again in a couple of months.
Thank you very much, Toby.
We've got 2 devices that I've been playing with. This is the Hisense Infinity KO phone, and this is a very interesting phone from a company called Xiaomi, and this is the Redmi Note 2. Now, these are, you can see in terms of the size, they're more or less the same size. This phone, and I'll first talk about this phone over here. This is the Hisense device. Now, this phone is firstly IP67 rated, which means that if you put this in water, it will survive. It's an Android phone. It's got a decent camera, which is 13 megapixels. It's got a decent processor. It's got a very decent battery. And the phone that I'm holding in my hand right now costs 4,000 Rand. And there is nothing wrong with this device. In fact, it's quite ruggedized. If I drop this on the floor like this, it'll survive, and there it is. The phone is really, really rugged, and really it's one of these devices that is in the market right now and is making, you know, people are saying, they're sitting up and they're noticing these kind of devices, and they're placing quite a bit of competition on the guys that charge quite a bit for their phones. So have a look at this device. It's really good, and it's got that rubberized coating around it. It's got Gorilla Glass, very, very solid device, and this is from Hisense, and this will cost you about 4,000 Rand. The other budget device that I've been playing with is the one from Xiaomi. Now, this company is interesting. They are number 2 and they were number 1 in China. This company doesn't compromise on quality. They bring out great value devices with great quality. So you'll see this is a bit of a bigger screen. It's got about a 5.5-inch screen, 13 megapixel camera. And the cool thing about this company is that they're continually updating their software. So they've got this thing where they're continually talking to their users, and any kind of bugs that people find, they really fix the stuff within 2-3 days, and they're bringing out the most incredible devices. They've launched this Redmi Note 2 device, and this is Xiaomi. That's how you pronounce it, Xiaomi. This device, believe it or not, costs $3,000. $3,000, which I think is exceptional value. Both of these devices in that kind of price range, and we're seeing that competition coming in. And it is about the specs to a degree, but they are very well spec'd. They've got decent processors, it's a 13 megapixel camera, great battery life. They're both running the Android platform. And I'm sorry that I cannot fault the devices on value and what you're paying over here. They're really, really good devices, and look out for them if you're looking for a device that's budget and great quality. This is the Xiaomi Redmi Note 2, and this is the Hisense device, the KO. Just think of KO because it's kind of rugged and it's also waterproof, offering great value to consumers. Two devices, under $4,000, you can't go wrong. And that's it for tonight's show. We'd love to hear your tech disasters that you might have, and not cracking your phone. We want to hear of the real things that have made you go, I can't believe I did that, and oh my word, is all my data gone? That's what we want to hear about. Tweet us at TechBusters SA.
Don't forget to join us next week. Thanks for coming tonight. Cheers.